we were told that we were engaging into this conflict because there was a possibility that Iran was going to do a preemptive strike against the United States. We were told a lot of stuff, but the biggest one that I actually kind of was biting on and kind of was like, all right, I kind of fucks with that a little bit, is that there's a possibility that Iran might do a preemptive strike on the United States. But there's been evidence that have come to the counter that says that Pentagon briefers acknowledged to the congressional staff in a brief Sunday that Iran was not planning to strike the U.S. forces or bases in the Middle East. This is reporting from Zachary Cohen with CNN. And, you know, believe in whoever the heck you want to believe in. Some folks don't believe it or not, and they're going to call this, that fake news or whatever. But this has kind of been sourced by multiple people. And now I'm kind of wondering, as we kind of get that information, how true is it? Let's listen to this real quick.
Why now? Yeah, Caitlin, just like most of the administration's explanations for why now, why was this operation against Iran launched now, this briefing happened in private, but we're told that Pentagon briefers did make a stark acknowledgement, and that was that no, there was no indication that Iran was preparing to preemptively strike U.S. bases in the region in anticipation of some sort of an attack from American and Israeli forces. And that's something that senior administration officials had said on Saturday that they believed was true, and that was something that contributed to the timing of this operation. So raising more questions still as the president we haven't heard from him about his reasoning, his justification, and his plan going forward as this military operation continues.
I don't know Caitlin, I don't know about like not necessarily not hearing from him about his plan and stuff going forward. I mean, we've heard from the president. You may not like his reasoning. I'm still confused by the reasoning, but we've heard stuff from the president. We kind of heard that we had to do it because of the preemptive strike. We kind of heard that they were possibly like, you know, very close to getting the capability of fully enriching uranium, although last summer they was completely obliterated. We've heard that regime change. We heard that they've killed 30,000 protesters. You know, we've heard a lot of different reasons why. And I want to say this. Let's just tell you my bias is right out the gate. I am kind of an America first type of guy. I believe that any country that wants to be liberated, that wants to be, you know, no longer underneath the rule of their government, should just do their own revolution. We did it. Hundreds of countries around the world have done it. Once you get done doing your revolution, we will support you by doing trade agreements. We will support you if we need to with a little bit of humanitarian aid. I kind of like keeping my own ducats, though. I personally go to work every single day. OK, and I have a real job. Right. I'm literally taking PTO off my job to kick it with y'all right now. And so for me personally, I go to work every single day. I pay my taxpayer dollars, and I 100% don't know if I'm down with sending my ducats overseas for just any old reason. So if you want to liberate yourself, I believe in supporting you with moral support. You got this, buddy. Don't you worry. We believe in you. But that doesn't necessarily mean I want to send my money over there for that. And so this is one of those instances where not only is it regime change something that I'm down with, I just don't want to be the one to have to spend the bread to make it happen. And on top of all that, I'm not down with the nation building part that happens thereafter. And I don't know too much regime change that occurs without putting boots on ground to make sure that the region stays stable. So I don't know why this is something that we needed to do at the exact moment, because without the evidence, and a lot of folks will say, well, we don't need to see the evidence. American people don't need to see that. And then we got freaking neocons and hawks and bums like Lindsey Graham who are just like, let's take everybody's throat. Let's go after everybody.
President Trump finished the job that President Reagan failed to do. I am a big admirer of Ronald Reagan, but I'm here to tell you that Donald Trump, in my opinion, is the gold standard for Republicans, maybe any president, and when it comes to foreign policy. Maduro, everybody talked about him. Well, Donald Trump's got him in jail. Cuba's next. They're going to fall. This communist dictatorship in Cuba, their days are numbered. The Iranian regime, the mothership of international terrorism, is about to collapse. The captain of the ship, the Ayatollah, is stone cold dead.
And the crazy thing is that Lindsey Graham was a freaking pogue like I was, a person other than a grunt. And at the end of the day, I was in the Marine Corps and I probably saw more time on the ground than he did. went to 13 countries. I was in Afghanistan. I left the wire. Rounds downrange occurred with me. But the thing is that I was surrounded by grunts and I was out there conducting missions and I was doing those things and I knows what it means to lace up the boots. And he should too, being a former JAG officer with, I think was it the Air Force or something like that. I'm not shitting. If you're a former JAG officer, man, we always need our attorney representation in the military. But to be such a saber rattler, to be somebody who's just all about going after that next place, it just seems a little bit obtuse, man. It just feels like we want to be everywhere. Why is Cuba next? Cuba has been under domination from one family or one set of a couple of families for decades. Why are we saying that they're next? I don't even know why we're having to listen to him talk about that. But now is it a possibility that we are going to see the president put Cuba in his sights as well? I mean, it's starting to look like a GTA character map, bro. It's starting to look like a GTA character map where in January we got Maduro. In February we got El Mencho, right? And I guess technically in February we also got the Supreme Leader. But we're just going to put that into March. I mean, what's going to be also going to be happening in March? I guess, can we put Cuba on that map as well? I don't know if it makes sense for us to just be all over the place, especially the number of assets and resources that we're having to use. At least with like Iraq, we were told it was weapons of mass destruction. Did it end up being true? No. But, you know, Colin Powell and Donald Rumsfeld and President Bush, they stood 10 toes down on that shit. And I joined the Marine Corps thinking that was the deal, right? I joined in 2006 when President Bush was still the president. And I'm like, I was ready to write my name in Sharpie on a bomb that was possibly going to be getting dropped in Iraq. Like, that's how gung-ho I was back in the day. So I don't know why. We would be doing this nowadays. What is it costing us in terms of money? Now in blood, we've had at least 3 service members killed. We've had at least 5 to 12 more wounded. So I think the numbers are going to go up. The President Trump seemed to be alluding that those numbers are going to be going up. I think that they're already hiring. We just don't know about it yet. But it also is costing us our assets when it comes to interceptors, missiles, bombs. We just lost 3 jets. We just lost 3 F-15s. So we got here that says conflicts with Iran and its proxies in the Middle East are depleting the U.S. air defense interceptors in the region. Now, we have so many air defense interceptors. They are made by different companies. Lockheed Martin makes some. Raytheon participates in that. And they only can make so many interceptors a month. So we make so many few thousand every year. And it is predicted that at the beginning of this conflict, that Iran had about 2,500 ballistic missiles, about 2,500. And so with 2,500 ballistic missiles that they had, it is believed that they've expended or they've used approximately 500 of those just in the first 2 days of this conflict. Now, we didn't intercept 500, we being the United States and Israel. We didn't intercept all those. Other countries are trying to intercept them, but a lot of them got through. We're going to look at some of that assessment as well as some of the damage that has happened. But what does it look like if they just keep going? I mean, they've used between 10 and 15% of their current stockpile that we think that they have, and they got like 2,000 more that they can lob at us. They might be buying more from the Russians or whatever. That's a lot more interceptions, a lot more damage that we can take. And so this is from Rose Kalinick. She says that this is coming from the Wall Street Journal. The precise size of the U.S. stockpile of the air defense interceptors, that is classified. But we are nervous that the U.S. might run out before we are able to stop the full production of missiles that Iran is doing. Compared to the U.S. interceptor production, Iran was producing a lot. They have less checks and balances. The defense contractors that work in this country have to go through and make sure they're following certain rules. Counterfeit part rules, Buy American Act rules, inspection rules, quality assurance. They ain't doing all that shit in Iran. If them things don't work right, they don't work right. So President Trump is just saying he was hoping that us doing this attack, that the remnants of the Iranian regime would just lay down their arms and ask for immunity. It hasn't happened yet, bro. It hasn't happened yet. So now we're worried about the number of interceptors that we have. We're worried about this stuff that we have, and they seem to be just unloading the clip. Let's just talk about how many countries were hit just last night with ballistic missiles or the drones that Iran uses. And by countries, I'm not talking about literally hitting the countries themselves. This map is a little bit deceiving because Iran didn't fire a missile into France, but assets belonged by France definitely got hit. Assets belonged by Italy definitely got hit. And so just overnight, this is since I laid my head down and woke my ass up this morning, Israel, 9 dead. This is by ballistic missiles. And they also are dealing with the Houthis in the north coming out of Lebanon. We got the Emiratis. They have a fire at the Abu Dhabi airport, 1 dead, 7 injured, and specifically in Dubai, inside of the UAE. The airport was hit, 4 wounded. Bahrain, our naval 5th fleet, we're going to take a look at that as well, is more damaged than we're led to believe right now. I was at Bahrain for 2 months. And when I was in Bahrain, I did not stay on the naval base. They had nowhere for me to stay. Okay, there was no bunk for me. So I actually had to stay in a villa inside of the town, like in Bahrain itself. I wasn't on the naval base, but every couple of days I had to go on the base. The base is super nice. And it is the head of the 5th fleet. They have obviously a big ass port that can receive ships there, but a good airport, good facilities, very, very comfortable. And it seems like it's really taking a beating. There's a lot of federal employees there, along with sailors and Marines, plus the other services as well. Stray missile hit an apartment block. They got a high-rise tower that got hit in Bahrain. We got Kuwait. The airport terminal was struck in the U.S. military's airport terminal. Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Jordan. The list goes on and on without reading it to you guys verbatim. But it's not only that. Multiple, when it comes to things that like money and blood and things that are being lost by us or that we're having to deal with, multiple U.S. military bases are on fire across the Middle East this weekend. We wake up Monday and we see not only battle damage assessment that we did, but now Iran has to do their own battle damage assessment. How effective was our missiles and our drones, our proxies, whether it's Hamas or the Houthis or whoever? It's just like, what's the battle damage assessment on day 2 that we were able to do? U.S. allies are seeing a massive explosion in the heart of major cities with missile technologies that the U.S. won't even admit that Iran has. Does Iran have the smoke that we don't know anything about? One thing that does have me concerned is like how much damage that we took in 2 days with a country that I thought was kind of like weak. Like I thought they were kind of weak. And the thing is not only is it just the damage that is being done to our bases, the damage being done to our pockets, but now it's just like my personal pockets. My personal pockets. The U.S. average retail gasoline prices broke $3 a gallon today for the first time in more than 3 months. And I think this is going to go back down. This is a headline today. This is from Reuters. I think that it could be a major risk to President Trump in the midterms and for the Republican Party. I'm not really concerned about that shit. I want to present this to you to talk about, like, in the immediate, gas is going up, and I think it could go back down if things change. But one thing I'm really worried about is the economic impact of the Strait of Hormuz being closed, and we'll talk about that here in a second. Because it's not just like my gas prices went up, because we know 20% of the world's oil goes through and comes from that Gulf over there in the Strait of Hormuz. We know that the anticipation of the unavailability of that oil is making the prices go up. But I think that there's a possibility they come back down. But right now, I got to go fill up the wife's car. It's going to cost me a little bit more bread. It's going to cost me a little bit more. So President Trump, I think he's trying to stay ahead of this. I just talked to you guys about what it's costing the U.S. when it comes to money, when it's costing us personally. But we've also lost service members. And this is the part that makes me draw pause the most. So President Trump tells the New York Times that Pentagon projections show U.S. casualties in Iran could be quite a bit higher than the 3 troops that we have lost so far. He says that 3 are too many, as far as I'm concerned, Mr. Trump says. But if you look at the projections, they do projections. It could be quite higher than that. I think he's forecasting that. We have more troops lost, more casualties. Let's just put it like that, than have been told to us so far. And I don't know when that information is going to be released, but I do think it's higher than we expect. Some analysts expected it could be as much as a couple dozen. I'm going to go with what the U.S. has told me so far, which is 3, because none of us are there. We don't know. But when we start to see our service member being received at Dover in flag draped coffins, that is when things are really, really real. And that's when we got chumps like Lindsey Graham who don't really take that into account. It's like, why are we doing this? And is it 100% worth it, right? Is it really worth it? Here's the thing. So there's different commands throughout the globe, and there's different things being told to these commands. This is why I'm talking about things like soft targets and things that we need to 100% concern ourselves with. Even you personally need to think about for yourself. A Department of Defense memo was circulated to SOCOM, so mostly to the Special Operations Command, that U.S. service members should disable their location services on all electronic devices because there are active threats targeting U.S. military within the continental United States, the lower 48. Not only that, Northern Command, or NORTHCOM, just came out with a command as well. That includes the lower 48, Alaska, the Northern Mariana Islands, U.S. Virgin Islands, Hawaii. They just came out with a command that all federal bases and facilities, they're just increased our level of 100% ID checks. Be cautious with your electronic devices. We are very concerned with the amount of access foreign nationals have to our bases. Access that we gave them. Now, we're not really sure if the foreign nationals that we've given access to over the years for different tasks, to work on stuff, to work on our facilities, to be in consultation with the military, how is the killing of the supreme leader during Ramadan going to affect the mindset of those that we've given access to? 100% ID check at CONUS. Hasn't happened in a while. A lot of times they just kind of wave you through the gate. You been on the base before? Just kind of wave you through that goddamn gate. Not as much. Not as much. So, thanks for becoming a member. Appreciate you. Thanks for kicking the door in. Super appreciate that. And the thing is that Carbon coming in with the membership. Thank you for that. But the thing is that so money's being spent, blood being lost. Now our level of concern in our awareness levels have to be heightened. The loss in things is completely rising in multiple ways. We just lost 3 fighter jets, apparently to friendly fire. Now, we will get more about this, but let me just tell you my concern about this. A couple of concerns. Let's listen to Pete Hegseth for a second.
Better, and so does this president. He called the last 20 years of nation-building wars dumb, and he's right. This is the opposite. This operation is a clear, devastating, decisive mission. Destroy the missile threat, destroy the Navy, no nukes. Israel has clear missions as well, for which we are grateful. Capable partners, as we've said since the beginning.
Okay. Clear mission sets. The president gave an 8-minute speech the day that we started to actually put rounds downrange. When we started doing standoff munitions, before the bombs were brought in, he clearly came out and set a mission set. He set objectives. Things that come out of the president's mouth, those are what we call objectives. And the Joint Chief, along with the Secretary of Defense or Secretary of War, whatever comes out of his mouth is an objective. So we wanted to say no nukes for them, no Navy for them, and regime change. Those are the things that came out of his mouth. If we stop now, Could we declare victory and say that we did all those things? Could we really say that? I don't know. Because we don't know the status of their ability to enrich uranium. They told us last summer it was deaded, that they yeeted it, that it was done for. If we stop now, we find out next week that they got some centrifuges spinning up, you know what I'm talking about? They got uranium enriched to 90%. Then did we fail that mission set? If there's still one Corvette boat in one of their vessels still working, do we fail the mission set with the Navy? The regime still exists. Just because we took off the head of the snake, there's still parts of it. The president's still around. They've already appointed a new interim supreme leader. A lot of the people in the country, some are celebrating, some are mourning. I mean, I don't think missiles, bombs, and CIA assets are going to be enough to get rid of the regime. You got to put boots on the ground. Is it our boots? I hope not. Is it Israel? I don't think they want to do that shit. When's the last time we've seen Israel put boots on the ground anywhere other than Gaza? They weren't, you know what I'm saying? They weren't in boots on the ground with us in Afghanistan. So it's like, how is that going to be navigated? So now we're worried about not only this mission set, not only making sure that we make this thing happen, not only they can't have terrorist organizations around the area, but we've lost these 3 fighter jets in the area. We've lost these 3 birds, and apparently it was friendly fire. Now, I don't know how the heck that happens, but how do we get around
3
that?
American fighter jets crashing in Kuwait. U.S. officials saying the crews all survived and that the jets were mistakenly shot down by Kuwaiti air defenses in a friendly fire incident during active combat with Iran. It is also in Kuwait where the United States suffered its first casualties in this rapidly expanding war. 2 U.S. officials telling NBC News yesterday that at least 3 American service members were killed and 5 seriously wounded by an Iranian attack. President Trump acknowledged the deaths and said the war would continue until all its objectives are achieved.
So we've already talked about the objectives. We've lost these 3 birds. I want to know how the heck. Like our stealth fighters, F-15s aren't stealth fighters. F-35s are stealth fighters. So I guess those would be more evasive to not be shot down. If someone would have told me we lost 3 F-35s, I would have been flabbergasted. F-15s, the capabilities of those are more like scrappy fighters. Okay, I still don't know how 3 of them were shot down. I mean, Kuwaiti air defenses, a lot of that stuff comes from our defense contractors. So I guess that's why they're so capable. But we lost 3 in one day. Friendly fire or not, bro. We lost 3 in one day. That kind of got me a little concerned, man. 3 in one day. That is why we mostly have been doing standoff munitions. I know that Israel's fine over Iran. Israel says that they have air dominance. Israel says that they have like air supremacy. But imagine if the standoff munitions, Cyber Command, Reaper drones were not taking out air defenses in Iran, some of which have not exposed themselves. Some of these Iranian air defenses still haven't exposed themselves. They're still keeping that stuff under wraps in the hopes that they're able to use it. Imagine that. Like, would there be even more if we lose any birds over Iran? The difference with Kuwait and Iran is that Kuwaitis go roll over there in their Toyotas, get the pilots, you know what I'm saying, give them a little bit of drinking water. Okay, did you already use your IFAC? Because I got one with me. Like, they may be saying, like, they check on it and make sure everything is Gucci. But if we lose a bird in Iran, we got to go in with most likely special operators, whether it's Green Berets or SEALs or whoever. And we got to go get our men. That what makes me concerned is if we lose 3 F-15s in one day from friendly fire, if we lose 1 from combative fire, oh my God, it's going to be a whole barn burner. We got to worry about that technology. We got to worry about the whole thing. We're saying that Israel lost one F-35 as well. If that's true, man, that just lets you know, how did that happen? Was it friendly? Let me know how that happened as well. They've done boots on the ground in Lebanon several times. Yeah, and they're probably going to do it again. They're probably going to do it again because of the rockets being launched from over there for the first time in like forever. The prime minister of Lebanon just is forbidding the Houthis from doing military operations in his country. I'm like, why are you just waiting to do that now? And I understand Houthis is like embedded in their government, so it's kind of hard to make that call, but it seems a little bit late to be doing that shit now. And now that you're worried about Israel rocking your border and coming over. Speaking of rocking the borders, Bahrain, not only have there been issues with our military bases or our military base, because we have one, the head of the 5th Fleet, a lot of service members live in the town. They live in Bahrain, not just on the base. I just mentioned when I was there for a couple of months, my primary job was to be in Bahrain, write contracts. When I was told by the Marine Corps, I would get on a bird and I would fly to a country and I would write contracts. I'd be on the ground. Sometimes I would grow my hair out, try to blend in and look like an African. There's a lot of Ethiopians in Bahrain. So I would grow my hair out, try to look like I was African or whatever. So I might be going to Jordan. I might have to fly in and go to Kuwait. I might have to go to Spain, where that was taking me out of theater, but I would have to do that too. But Bahrain was my hub for a while. I lived in the town. None of us lived in a luxury tower like this when they got hit with a drone, but we lived in a lot of villas. We lived embedded. The U.S. military is all throughout the town. It's not just on the base. There was a report that a missile struck a luxury skyscraper, and it says that the skyscraper is housing senior U.S. military command personnel. I wasn't in nothing like that. I was an E6 staff sergeant, but there is a higher likelihood than zero that yes, higher military ranking senior personnel was in a building like that. I'm just telling you, there's a more likely than zero chance that was the case. So now we have Bahrain is in this fight themselves, not just the base itself. Not only that, but a couple of nights ago, Iran was able to directly hit one of our weapons depots, munition storage, in one of our bases in Iraq. And we have so many secondary explosions that came from that. It's just kind of mind-boggling when it comes to the amount of money, blood, and assets lost so far in one weekend in this fight. Like way more than expected. At least I expected, just in my own head. You know how sometimes like the team, your team is like telling you like, we're about that life. Like we're 100% about that life. I was kind of like, hell yeah, you're right, buddy. So I think that it's something that we need to consider, like how far will this go? How many assets are we willing to lose? Iranian media also saying that they struck a UAE platform in the Persian Gulf. So they're saying that they hit a UAE platform. There's also reports that an Amazon data center has been hit. There's reports that a Aramco oil facility has been hit. Now, these are all facilities that I don't necessarily am not connected to, but they all affect us somehow. A lot of Americans work for Aramco. I had a couple of job interviews with Aramco. They pay a fucking lot of money, a ton of money. I just didn't want to live in Saudi Arabia. Oil platforms in the Gulf being hit. Also, the way that we can refine oil, that makes a big difference, or even extract oil from the earth. That can make a big difference. And so Amazon data centers, we always are worried about AWS going down and websites being affected. But it's not just that, because I think that there's a lot of folks trying to have like their version of a Benghazi 2.0. And it's happening in multiple embassies throughout the region. Imagine being at the U.S. Embassy in Pakistan and them trying to storm it. So a lot of embassies, I can't say all of them, but the few that I've been to the embassy in Bahrain, Spain, Jordan, quite a few countries. And the way it works is that the people of that country, the military of that country, security forces of that country, they're the first line of defense. Like, so if someone tries to storm the green zone of the country, you're fighting them first, right? And so here we see that U.S. Marines reportedly opened fire. I don't think that's 100% accurate. I'm seeing reports that it was actually Pakistani security forces that opened fire, but they actually killed a couple of folks that were trying to storm the embassy there. The Marine security guard is like last line of defense for an embassy. Okay. And, but this is some of the action going on outside of the embassy in Pakistan this weekend. These people are mad. This is outside of the embassy in Baghdad. So we got stuff going on outside the embassy in Pakistan and as well as Iraq and Baghdad. So not only we already seen these people attacked because of a death of a supreme leader in another country. This happened during Ramadan. For some of the Shia Muslims, he is like equivalent to their Pope, like the Pope for the Catholics. Like that's how equivalent of importance he is to some folks within the Shia Muslim faith. We took them out during Ramadan. And it's not just Iranians that are pissed about it. Those that share similar faith in other countries are already showing their ass and willing to die for him being taken out. Now we're worried about the potential of people using suicide attacks, in addition to retaliatory missile strikes, targeting American facilities, soft targets. And we've already saw something like that in Austin, which I believe might be a false flag, but nonetheless, it's still something that we need to concern ourselves with. And this could be happening in Tel Aviv, in Jerusalem, and Qatar, and vehicle-borne improvised explosive devices is something we're concerned ourselves with now. Now we've had all these things being heightened, being raised. And these are people just more brazen, more open with it, right outside of our embassy, as mentioned before. So we got literally people out here. I don't know if they got 40 caliber 9 mils, whatever they're using. I don't know who the heck you think you're hitting from this distance, but they still gonna just drop a couple rounds down range and see what they can make happen. I like Colin Noir. He's fantastic. He is here in the the Dallas area with me, and he said that 57 seconds is how long it took for the perfect police response when it came to this Austin, Texas shooting on 6th Street. So to the media, that's a success. And he's kind of right. The media is portraying that as a success. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it was successful. And I'm kind of with him that he, like I believe in the Second Amendment, being able to carry your own weapon, protecting yourself. And I believe over the next couple of weeks, not saying forever, but over the next couple of weeks, crowded areas, me and Mrs. X going to kick it. I like to watch her shake her ass and twerk. But for the next couple of weeks, she's going to be shaking that ass and twerking here at the crib. Because there's just certain areas I can't take my weapon right now. I can't in Texas, I can't. Most of the places where this occurred in Texas, you can't take a weapon inside of a bar that makes their revenue from 51% alcohol. So you're down there literally just kind of like at the whim of somebody that wants to do their own bidding. So the Austin bar shooter was wearing a, property of Allah shirt, and underneath that he was wearing like a sympathetic Iranian shirt. I don't know. I feel like it was real false flaggy. I don't know how like true that is, but I don't know. It just doesn't really give me a lot of good feels to know that we have so many soft targets in this area. 57 seconds to a regular civilian sounds like fantastic response time. Like, man, okay, I'm going to go kick it next weekend. They responded within 57 seconds. I don't know about that, man.
At least 20 people were shot in downtown Austin this morning, and at least 3 people are dead. Take a look. It happened behind me.
Aesthetic security. It's a term I use to describe the warm and fuzzy feeling you get when you see a line of squad cars parked under the neon lights of a city street. You think, I'm good. I'm even guilty of this.
And I agree with them. And I think that the aesthetic security is what I think a lot of us have fallen into lately. We've fallen into the feeling of like, oh, look, all those police cars with the guys inside scrolling Instagram. I'm good to go. Soft targets are a thing right now. Soft targets are something I think about more often right now. And for me personally, I've already talked about, I don't know why we're doing it. I've already talked about the money and the blood and the assets that we've lost. Now we talked about our hardened targets, which are embassies, things that have air defenses. The soft targets, we've already had our first example of something that could be put at jeopardy, which is a bar area in Austin, Texas. I just tell you this. If you see prudent, if you want to just kind of chill out over the next couple of weeks, not forever, next couple of weeks, just kind of chill out and decide if it's worth it for you to go kick it in some areas. For me, not as much right now. I'm going to be kind of just chilling out here at the crib because I can't fully protect my family everywhere right now. I still got to send my kiddos to school. I still got to do all that type of stuff. You need to really think about if it's something you don't need to do, if it's something you pump the brakes on for now. President Trump said something I thought was very, very interesting. President Trump said, he told Jonathan Karl, he's formerly with ABC News. I don't know who he's with nowadays, but I don't mind the fake Marco Rubio dressed up as the fake supreme leader of Iran. But the post I want to talk about is here. He says that that the President Trump told him that the U.S. identified possible candidates to take over Iran, but they were killed in the initial attack. Quote from the president, the attack was so successful, it knocked out most of the candidates, Trump told me. It's not going to be anybody that we were thinking of because they're all dead. Imagine wanting to do regime change. Imagine wanting to do regime change. And the folks that you wanted to do the change, you yeeted all of them. Just imagine that. Like everybody you had in mind to do that change, you yeeted all of them, bro. So this is where it brings me to, I'm telling you, this is my prediction. I don't know if I'm gonna be right or wrong, but this is my prediction. This is who they're going to try to say who's next. He's already talking about he wants it. This goofball, I don't think he's connected with the people like he thinks that he is. This is the exiled crown prince who's been out of the country for decades. He says he's ready to lead the country into a new government. And the thing is that this exiled crown prince, he's closely aligned to Israel. You think the Iranian people is going to want someone who's closely aligned to Israel to be their leader? Do you really think that's going to be the move for them? And he's just confident. Like he's being called Your Highness when he goes on Fox News. The crown prince, Reza Pahlavi, I don't know how to say his name. He believes he is ready to lead the country. Has a plan for his people's future if they will have him. I don't know if they want him. He's been living in multiple countries for years. He hasn't been, he has not been a part of like in Iran in a very, very long time. And then they're going to see old pictures of him. This is from 2023 where he's on the Western Wall praying, touching the Wailing walls and wearing the hat. Like, I don't know if the people are going to want to be led by him. And this is why I believe that this could be an extended conflict because we don't 100% know who the hell is going to be taking power. Imagine our government's yeeted up out of here. And somebody that's been living in another country for 2-3 decades, like, hey, I'm ready to lead y'all. It's like double Dutch, man. They're in there. They're like, man, well, I'm ready. Just tell me when y'all need me, bruh. I don't think it's gonna go down like that. What about the financial cost to like American folks all over? What about like the financial cost beyond just oil, beyond our defense, us having to give defense contractors more money for them to replenish our interceptors, beyond just the loss of military assets? But I think that this has a bigger impact because of the Strait of Hormuz. So right now, as it stands right now, the Strait of Hormuz is not officially closed. Like if you really are feeling bold and you own a petro company, you own a little oil company, you own an oil company that's designed to send ships and stuff through that region, you're more than welcome to give it a go, but it's more of a no-go zone. The Strait of Hormuz is right here that leads from the Persian Gulf, bleeds out, and this is where 20% of oil comes out, and most of it goes to Asia. And so think about all the oil that's struggling to get through the strait right now, because there are some companies who are ballsy enough to give it a go. If they think that Iran won't do shit to them, they're willing to give it a go, right? But think about the countries that make shit for us. Malaysia, India, Taiwan, China. They mostly get their oil from the Persian Gulf, from the countries that are supplying that oil, whether it's Qatar, Kuwait, Iran, Saudi Arabia, the Emiratis. All of them are rich because of their oil, not because of their good looks. So they get their oil out through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, the only way that they can get it out, if they can't use that strait, the Saudi Arabians would have to drive it across their entire country and put it through the Red Sea. Iran, they mostly control the strait, so they themselves have to use the strait. It's not like they're going to go north. UAE can't go through Oman. So it's just like, this is critical for things that we care about, not just oil. You don't think that the cost of goods are not going to rise if manufacturing doesn't have a reliable source of oil in their countries, whether it's China or Malaysia or Vietnam or whatever? Yes, the cost of all of our shit could rise just from this strait being closed. So like the cost of everything could significantly rise if this thing is prolonged. Like it can go up a ton. The Strait of Hormuz remains a critical oil choke point for tons of countries that mine their oil, and they want to push through 20 million barrels of oil a day through the strait. And most of it is not getting through right now. So that could affect all sorts of countries who get their oil from that area. South Korea, India, China, other Asian countries, United States, not as much, but look at the chart on the right. All that blue, the blue is the countries that primarily get their oil from the Gulf states. Those countries will be affected when they have less oil, when they decide to raise prices. Their manufacturing is affected, and then it affects us here at the crib. Here in the United States, the objectives aren't really clear to me. No nuclear weapon, I guess, no ballistic missiles, maybe, no Navy, possibly, but it just feels very like we're not really 100% landing the plane here. I just hope that we're able to figure this out sooner than later, that we're able to figure out exactly how to prevent this from spiraling for years. I think we're on the brink of this going for years, and I don't want that to be so. But we're starting to see effects of our allies as well. And some of these effects from our allies are not necessarily joining the fight. Some of these effects from our allies are telling us that you can't use us for this fight. This is what the prime minister in Spain just said about not being able to use their assets.
Traer mucha más inestabilidad global.
No need to listen to him because he's saying in Spanish. He just barred the U.S. from using their bases to strike Iran. Now, here's the thing. In Spain, we have a couple of assets. We have Sierra del Retin, we have Rota, we have assets in Madrid, and largely Rota, our naval base. We have a lot of humongous aircrafts that can land at Rota. The airstrip in Rota is large. We can land our largest aircrafts there. That's a perfect in-between point when we come from the United States. And he's barring the U.S. from using their bases to strike Iran. Now, one thing I'm not clear about is, what does it mean to strike Iran? Because if you're using a Pegasus, or if you're using a tanker aircraft to refuel a B-2 that's coming from Missouri, is that striking Iran? I guess we can get real cute by half with this statement. But my point to put him on the screen is to say that we have a lot of allies who are not joining the fight. And they're also saying that, hey, y'all are more than welcome to kick it. You can keep kicking it in our country, but don't use our bases. Don't use your bases in our country, rather, to be the jump off point to do your attacks in Iran. Now, for me personally, If I hear this statement from the prime minister, I'm like, all right, I'm not going to use your, I'm not going to use the base that I have in your country to strike Iran. But we do need to refuel a B-2 bomber. You know what I'm talking about? We do need to let a ship stop by your port on their way to the Mediterranean to launch some standoff munitions. You know, we do have that type of stuff. So we have more of our allies who are not joining the fight, but they're barring that type of stuff. Congress is expected to maybe tomorrow have a vote on the War Powers Act, because the reason that the president was able to even conduct this act, because the president he can't rage war. He can't go to war. But if he believes it is an imminent threat to United States, our assets, he can use our defenses in an offensive way. That's why I think we got the reasoning of there could have been a preemptive strike by Iran, and that's why he was able to do this. But I still think there needs to be a vote by Congress. There still needs to be something that comes from Congress to explain what the heck we're doing. So we just got that the Trump administration acknowledged in a closed door briefing with the congressional staff that there was no intelligence suggesting Iran planned to attack the U.S. first. This is why I believe that we need to have a vote from Congress, because I showed you guys the story that CNN said. Now we're starting to get it from Kyle Griffin. We're also getting it from this is from Reuters. We're starting to get it from wire services like Reuters and AP, where CNN, you can say that they might be biased. Fox News, you can say they might be biased, but Reuters and AP are wire services and they're kind of not really biased. Okay. So they're now saying that the reasoning for us doing these strikes, which is to protect military assets, because we thought they were going to do a preemptive strike, is now being confirmed by other outlets as well. And this is coming from congressional staff that have been briefed directly by the Pentagon. Is Congress going to have a vote this week on this shit? I don't think so. They keep saying that they will. They said that they will. But I don't know if that's 100% going to happen. We've been very effective on target. And one thing I can say is I go through all this information with you guys, is that I am very proud of our military. Regardless if I don't know exactly why we're doing this shit, bro, it kind of gets Grandpa excited, kind of chubs me up, bricks me up to know that we are still making this stuff happen, and that we are still making this, that we are still able to be so effective. And it kind of saddens me when I hear stuff like this from the chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff.
First, to be clear, as the secretary said, this is not a single overnight operation. The military objectives that CENTCOM and the Joint Force have been tasked with will take some time to achieve, and in some cases will be difficult and gritty work. We expect to take additional losses, and as always, we will work to minimize U.S. losses. But as the secretary said, this is major combat operations.
So the chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff, he's not the operational commander in the area. I think that's Admiral, I forget his name, but he's not the admiral who's in charge of the operations in theater. He's a chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff. But he's the spokesperson. He's what happens is the theater commander, who's an admiral, he assesses if he needs more assets, less assets. He puts that request up to the Chief of Staff, and then that also goes to the Secretary of Defense, and then they okay it, they consult with the president, whatever. And he's now signaling that we're expecting additional losses. So we heard it from the president, we've heard it from the chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff. This is what leads me to believe that those numbers may be higher, than we expect. Me personally, guys, I just want y'all to stay safe. I want y'all to stay vigilant. And I will try to update you whenever I get more information. The last thing I wanted to leave y'all with is the downed pilots in Kuwait. This scene that we saw in Kuwait is local Kuwaitis mistook the ejected American pilot for a shot down Iranian pilot and went after him with sticks to take him prisoner. They didn't know who he was, okay? But I want to say this. If we were to lose a bird in Iran, it's not going to be as, muted as someone going after with sticks. And if we were to get photos or videos of an American pilot lost in Iran and they videotaped it, I think that it would rip the saber rattle mentality out of every American here. And as much as we may not like the fact that we're over there, I think a lot of us would be like, oh, hell nah, bro. First time stopping by, hit the subscribe button. I would love to have you a part of the battalion. If this is not your first time stopping by, well, thank you once again for watching me run my grape. For everyone else, we'll speak soon.